heard a funny story. Cameron Carden said she was watching one of the videos, and I just have that habit to try and get your attention. I'll whistle. She's like, her dog was in the room with her. Her whistling, like, he jumped up, he's like, looking around like this. Like, I was going to ask her the dog's name, so during the video I can, like, say the name. Okay. Jump. No, I didn't think of it until she laughed. So I'll probably ask her tomorrow. So.
Just send out a group text to like a remind. Just like, hey Cameron, can you just tell me this?
What did your dog say?
All right, here we go. There you go. So it says a person 2 meters tall walks directly away from a street light that is 8 meters above the ground. So here's what's happening. You have a street light. You have the ground.
Is it beneficial to draw this picture?
Yeah, picture's essential on this one.
Can you draw the little box at the top so it's a street lamp?
Oh no, just kidding. We're finding Ray.
There's a little person.
There's the person.
Oh, it's up here.
Okay, look. This is 8. This is 2. The shadow is right here. Because the person's body blocks the light. Is it okay?
What's the green?
The green is not the right color, but is representing like a light ray coming from the lamp. So the light will come like this, right? But then it can't get through the person, hence a shadow. So, good point. Pretty good.
He just said he read the end of the question and it said, is the person walking? And he was like, oh damn.
Yes,
Right. Look.
No, he's jogging.
Says that the person is walking at a constant rate, and the person's shadow is lengthening at a rate of 4/9 meters per second. Okay, here's something you must memorize. You have to memorize that related rate problems are almost always geometric, hence the picture, okay? Therefore, when they say the shadow is lengthening at 4/9 meters per second, pay attention to the fact that they're describing how a distance is growing. So this distance here, I'm going to call this distance x. Because I'm super creative and that's what we always use. So distance is x, x grows. So you now know a rate. So we're doing the dread thing. We draw Danica's chart. They've talked about a rate, dx dt. Okay, you cannot talk about a rate without having an amount involved. So the amount is x. Okay, I know this seems rather simple.
But it's hard to remember when you're in the problem.
Yeah, and it's actually very interesting how hard it was for students when I didn't have them draw the chart. Like drawing the chart just cleared it up for a lot of people. Like this is the rate we read about, so we've got to keep track of this amount.
Would there be a second rate of meters per second, or is that represented at dx or dt?
Meters per second is just the units. So the meters per second isn't a different rate, it's just the units of the rates. And it's simple, look. Just say it out loud, please. How is x measured in this problem? Louder.
Meters.
Meters. How is time measured?
Seconds.
Seconds. The units are the easiest points on the AP test. Just look at what you're writing and just go, oh, meters per second.
So if you can't solve a problem, just write down the units.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll ever give you points for that, to be honest. But, you know. Like, I kind of think they're going to make you have the answer first, then they'll give you points for the units. If you don't have the units, they'll take away the
If
points.
it's like a really hard problem, you just go with blank.
Right,
and then
yeah,
you like,
blank, yeah.
so it's gonna
If this is a related rate problem, then would that mean that this second rate is how fast the person is walking?
Listen to Matthew, please. Listen. Hey, 2 points. Look. says right here, at what rate is the person walking? So that's the related rate. But we want to change how we're thinking about that. 1 second. It's best to think of how distances are changing. Don't think of how fast the person is walking.
Yeah, it's still meters per second.
Right, so what distance is changing at the same rate at which the person walks? Just what Hannah just did.
How far away?
Street lamp's here, right? Person's here. There's a distance between them. As the person moves, the distance grows. And that distance grows at exactly the same rate as the person is walking. So we'll call that distance y. Again, being super creative. Cynicism and sarcasm are not my strengths.
Why do I feel like that was sarcastic?
I was trying, but it didn't really work out. Question. Please, Jake.
If you were an 8th grader and had a question and at the end it said, okay, the units of measure, and then someone put like an answer, and then the units were right, but the answer wasn't, would you give
That one I might give the point.
So just make up an answer.
Yeah, make up a bunch of stuff. I was literally like making up a bunch of stuff.
Seems like a good plan.
Yeah,
Hey, 3 points.
I'm really not sure how those are going to have to be honest.
I feel like we're running out of
Um,
time.
We good? 2 points, please.
Wait, why is dy over dt is just the rate or how fast they're walking?
So dy dt tells you, see, y means change in y, d means change in y, difference in y, difference in time. So that's indicating what Hannah said, how fast the distance between my hands grows,
Oh, okay.
which is exactly the same as how fast he is walking.
Oh.
If I act it out, it helps me. Look, here's the layout. Just stay with me. How far away from how far am I away from the lamp? 0. Okay, we'll just call it 0. If I'm moving at 1 foot per second, how fast is the distance between myself and the lamp growing? 1 foot per second. So the rate at which I walk is the same as the rate at which the distance grows.
Oh.
For a related rate problem, focus on the rate at which the distance grows, not how fast he's walking. They're the same, but it's better to focus on the geometric part.
Then,
Does that make sense?
is dx over dt the length of the shadow?
Yeah.
Or the
No.
sorry, the rate at which the shadow changes?
Perfect, because x is the length of the shadow. Please.
I don't know if this ever happens, but since you're trying to, since you have a distance and then you have distance, another distance, you want to knock the distance and make another rate of distance, or do you also want to match it, or do you want to
Ponder that one for a minute. 2 points. Anybody else? Please.
Okay, so x is the length of the shadow, and then y is the distance between the lamp and the person.
Good? Perfect. Okay, so we've written down the rates. Don't ever do this. Look, don't introduce rates that you don't read about. Like in most problems, there's other things that are changing. Like the length of this light here is going to change. But they don't talk about that, so don't write it down. Only follow the acronym. Only write down the rates that you read about. Okay? Good? So now we need an equation that involves the amounts. You need to memorize this as well. It's really common on the AP test. What you have in front of you here is a large triangle with a small triangle inside. Very common for the AP test. Large triangle with small triangle inside. So you can write an equation that associates x and y using the property of similar triangles. Similar triangles are really easy to work with. Just write down one of the variables, x. I like to put the variable in the numerator. It makes the algebra easier. Compare x to something that makes logical sense.
X, Y.
So you could compare it to y, but I don't like y in the bottom.
2.
So I'm going to compare it to 2. Because x is the side of this small triangle, right? 2 is the vertical side of the small triangle. So that's a reasonable comparison. Now you just make the same comparison for the large triangle. X plus y
Over 8.
over 8.
I remember all this.
Yeah, everybody's done it. It's not hard to remember. It comes
Then
fast.
you do the cos.
Now we're going to multiply. So we multiply both sides by 8, both sides by 2. 2 distributes. Okay, now caution. I don't always rearrange the equation. Depends on the equation. Like if you remember back here on number 4, there was no reason to rearrange because we were trying to find dv dt, and the equation's set up exactly how we want it. Just leave it alone. In most related rate problems, it's easiest if you just leave the equation alone. 13 is an exception. In 13, it does help a little. It's not a huge difference, but it helps a little to rearrange a bit. I don't even worry about the fact that I'm trying to find dy dt. I just noticed the algebra is so simple, I just couldn't resist doing it. So this is 6x equals 2y, which means 3x is equal to y. So I wasn't really thinking of this at all. I just, that kind of simplification went so fast, I just kind of did it.
Then we could just plug in 4/9 for x, right?
Hold on. I'll pay someone a full ticket to tell me why that is incorrect.
Oh, isn't it because it's like difference between amounts and rates, I guess?
I can't give you another ticket, but you know.
Sorry. I just
Not-
meant-
4/9 describes the rate of
The rate at which x is changing. And what does x describe? Right, so we can't plug in 4/9 for x because x isn't 4/9. Who else knew that before I? Put your hands up. If you had their hand raised, they would have said that. Yep. Hand raised, and would have said that. Good. It's really critical you not mix up rates and amounts. The entire AP test is like problem after problem after problem, making sure you don't mix up rate and amount. Hands up, what's the next step? Come on, hands, don't say it, just raise your hand. You need to think with me, not watch me. You're never going to see this problem again, so there's no sense watching me how I solve the problem. You got to think how I'm thinking, so you can use my thoughts on a different problem. Just follow the acronym. Just follow the acronym. Just remember what the acronym stands for. Some people are like, I don't remember.
I am writing this plenty.
Look at your notes. What does the acronym stand for? What comes next, Ethan?
Differentiation.
Differentiate what?
The equation that I just used.
The equation that we just used. So I go here and I say d over, what goes on the bottom?
dt.
dt.
So I take d over dt of 3x,
Do the same on the other side.
because I must maintain the equality. How many knew it? Point, 2 for each question. Please.
This might be a stupid question, but what's the difference between differentiation and derivative?
Ticket-worthy question. It is what Matthew's saying. Derivative is a noun. Derivative is what we end up with. We end up with the derivative. And I wish they would have chosen the word like derivative, because it just sounds more derivatize or derivatize or differentiate means to find the derivative. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good word.
Mr. Smith,
Please.
I feel a little gypped. I asked that question last time and I didn't get a ticket.
Ooh, apologies.
Savage.
It's kind of random, so.
I got it.
I could give the standard Mrs. Chambers reply that the only fare in life is what you pay the taxi and the one you go to in September. Other than that, you know. So. It's one of her favorite statements. I guess that wasn't very funny, but whatever. Please.
If you did like X equals Y over 3, would you still have like the same?
Yeah. Yeah. Look up. Look up. Yes. My advice. It's best to not have denominators. It's just easier. I don't usually do any of this because it usually makes it worse. I usually just get the equation, take the derivative. This is kind of an exception because it's so easy to kind of clean it up. So then we get this. 3 is a constant. So you have 3 dx dt is dy dt.
And you know what dx.
You know what dx dt is. Plug it in. If you want to get a good score on the AP test, you just quit right now. So, oh, wait a minute. Units. Always put well, it's multiple choice. So those divide, you get 4/3. Forgot it was multiple choice. Nope. You can try, I suppose. You know, bubble it in and make a little. Never mind.
Like make a little F column. You're like, I was right on all of that.
In your own mind. My lawyer won't pay you very much for that.
Could you explain between the 3 dx dt and the 3 4x?
So what is dx dt?
The rate change shadow.
And do they tell us that rate?
Oh, yeah. I think, right?
So I simply said that is equal to 490. If you look again, if you pay attention to the symbols, it helps. Like dx means change in the shadow's length. dt means change in time. That's why 4/9 means every time 9 seconds goes by, shadow gets 4 feet longer.
So,
Yeah.
and then dy dt is the change in
Rate.
In person, or the change in rate of the person compared to the lane.
Yes, which is exactly the same as how fast the person walks, which is what they asked for.
Well, that's what you guide me.
Look up. Look up. Okay, look, I keep warning everyone. Have I shown you how many points you must earn to get like a 4 on the AP test?
60.
And how many points are possible? 108. Don't forget, you've got to go slow. Like one of the most important things when you're reading a problem is to not miss that they said rate. When it says rate, you pause. Like, oh, it's a rate. It belongs in this column. Please.
Oh, sorry, you're turning.
Yes.
I just lost it.
No worries.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I got it.
You good?
I mistakenly thought that the amount of the rate was like almost like an equal sign, like that y, the units for y is dy dt, but
No worries. Harrison.
Wait, I'm just a little confused. The thing that I got the ticket for, it ended up being exactly what we did. Because I said we would just plug in 4/9 times by 3.
Oh,
And I
interesting.
got a ticket for it.
Unusual. In this case, it's true. It's just not typically true.
Okay.
Because you are doing the wrong thing. I mean, x isn't 4/9.
Yeah.
It just lucked out and it worked.
Okay.
Luck is, you know, good when you get it. Just don't make it your strategy. There you go. Perfect.